Welcome back, listeners, to Red Hunt, where I dive into captivating relationship stories sourced from the depths of Reddit. So sit back, relax, and prepare yourselves for a roller coaster of emotions. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join the hunt. The petty revenge I got on the worst manager I ever had. My first job after graduating high school in 2008 was as an office employee in the distribution center in my hometown for one of the statewide newspapers. In retrospect, it was actually fun for the most part. My scheduled hours were from midnight to 6:30 a.m., with Tuesdays and Wednesdays off, which worked for me because I enjoy nighttime, and even today, I still work mid-shift. The assistant manager, Aaron, and I got along well, and the other two people in the office, Doug and Scott, were good guys too. The only problem we had was our manager, Barb. Looking back on it, she could have gotten in trouble for a bunch of the things she pulled, forcing us, who were hourly employees, to put only 40 hours max per week on our timesheets, when we were actually working 55 hours a week. Downgrading Aaron from a salary-based assistant manager position to an hourly position, while still working as the AM, and even driving by our houses to see if our cars were in our driveway if we called in sick. Yes, she actually did this to me. When she wasn't doing illegal invasive stuff like that, she was just being annoying. On Mondays, Aaron and I were usually the only ones scheduled to work. Simple nights and small papers, so it was an easy day. A few times, for whatever reason, Barb showed up out of the blue. We'd ask her why she was there, and her reply was always, "I don't know. I just feel I need to be here." And then she retreated to her office. So, what led to, and what was my petty revenge? In early 2011, after over a year of constant overtime hours not getting counted, route carriers coming and going, which meant us office employees had to deliver those down routes. And one day Doug just never showed up again, which I truly don't blame him. I had enough and actively started searching for a new job. It was on a Friday in March when I got a call that I was hired by a company, and they asked when I could start. I told them to let me tie up some loose ends at my current job, and I'll start on Monday. This tells you I had zero intentions of doing a 2-week notice. But as a courtesy, I did at least get together with Aaron for dinner, and I told him what was going to happen so he would know for the following Monday. He had been on leave at the time. On that Sunday, we had 4 down routes which we had been dealing with for over a month already. As mentioned earlier, there was another office employee, Scott, but he couldn't deliver routes due to some medical conditions he had. So Barb and myself had to each deliver 2 whole routes by ourselves. I told her that I would go ahead and work until the later time, 10 a.m., after delivering my routes in order to handle any calls for redeliveries, papers accidentally missed by carriers, to give to our redelivery carrier. Of course, I did this specifically so I could close everything up and leave my key. As 9:50 a.m. came, I typed up my resignation letter that I later taped onto Barb's office door. In that letter, I specifically stated, "I will no longer answer any phone calls from anyone associated with this company. And rest assured, if anyone shows up at my residence, they will have the police called on them." At 10 a.m. I taped it onto her door, locked all the doors, put my key into her office letterbox, and left out a door that locked from the inside, never going or looking back, leaving Barb to be down another office employee. The absolute cherry on top of everything was Aaron quitting 2 weeks after I quit. It's crazy how she was breaking so many rules and invading everyone's privacy. Good on you for finding a new job and leaving without a 2-week notice. Sometimes you just have to take care of yourself. And it's hilarious that Aaron quit soon after you did. It's like a double whammy for Barb. Am I the antagonist for insisting that my in-laws buy my daughter a new doll? This past Christmas, my mother got my daughter Amy, 4 years old, a doll she had been asking for. It's a baby version of Mirabelle from the Disney movie Encanto, and it quickly became her favorite. My husband's cousin Nat has a daughter I'll call Julie, 6 years old. I wouldn't describe her as spoiled, but she does have a tendency to disobey others. There have been many instances where I asked Julie to do something, "Please sit down, please don't touch that," etc. And she either ignored me or did the opposite behind my back. While I understand that she's a child, Nat rarely tries to teach or correct her behavior. Last week, Nat and Julie came to visit us with some other relatives. Julie saw the Mirabelle doll and asked my daughter if she could play with it. Amy said no. Julie protested, but I intervened and got them to play with other toys instead. Later on, the kids sat down to watch TV while the rest of us prepared dinner. When we returned to the living room, Julie was missing. After a quick search, we found her in my bathroom. She had taken not only the Mirabelle doll but also my nail polish carrying case. Julie had used my nail polish to paint the doll's hair, face, and dress. It covered most of the doll's face, messed up her hair, and ruined her clothes. Amy saw what happened and was devastated. When we asked Julie what she was doing, she said she was giving the doll a makeover. Nat and Julie left in a hurry. The next day, I asked Nat how she planned to address the situation. She suggested that the girls apologize to each other, Julie for painting the doll, Amy for not sharing it initially, and hug it out. She also offered to give me a couple of new nail polish bottles. I made it clear that Amy didn't need to apologize. While I didn't mind the nail polish, they only cost $4 and Julie didn't finish the bottles she used, I did expect Nat and her husband to replace the doll. Nat refused, claiming that it wouldn't be fair for her to spend money on an innocent mistake made by a child. She also believed that Julie should not be the only one apologizing since none of this would have happened if Amy had agreed to share in the first place. I asked her twice, and she said no both times. Finally, I called her husband and explained the situation. He apologized profusely and agreed to buy Amy a new doll. He came by on Saturday and gave it to us. He also brought Julie along and made her apologize to Amy. Apparently, Nat and her husband had a heated argument over this, as she felt that Julie was just a child and they didn't owe us anything. So now, on top of calling me entitled for expecting a new doll, she is blaming me for their fight. My husband supports me, but my mother-in-law thinks I should apologize for letting this escalate and suggests that Amy was wrong to refuse to share. So, am I the asshole? Nat's daughter Julie clearly has a pattern of disobedience, and her parents seem to be enabling it. Julie's actions were completely disrespectful and damaging to Amy's toy, and it is only fair that they replace it. Your mother-in-law's suggestion to apologize is misguided. You handled the situation appropriately by expecting accountability for the damage caused. My partner bought a puppy against my will right before we had our newborn. My partner and I have been together for about 11 months, and we conceived our baby boy early on in our relationship. She has a medium-sized dog and a cat, but since I'm allergic to cats, I just avoid it and it's not an issue for me. I understood that these pets were part of the package when I came into the picture. My partner is impulsive, and although I'm not perfect myself, I try to include her in major decisions. Throughout the pregnancy, she constantly wanted to get a kitten or a puppy, but I always insisted on waiting until the baby arrived to see how things would be. I knew it wouldn't be easy with just a newborn. However, in November, while I was working in a remote location, she called me and said there were some people getting rid of a German Shepherd puppy on the side of the road. They were willing to trade the puppy for an Xbox, and she wanted to foster the dog for 2 weeks until she found it a new home. I warned her that she might get attached, but she assured me she wouldn't. I also reminded her that taking care of a baby and a puppy simultaneously would be extremely difficult. I couldn't control her choices, but I hoped she would make a wise decision. Unfortunately, she still went ahead and got the dog. Now, with our newborn born in late December, the puppy has become a real nuisance. It steals the baby's clothes, barks incessantly, and urinates and defecates everywhere. My partner does very little to prevent it. The puppy has also chewed up most of the baby's pacifiers and bottle nipples. I only found out when I asked my partner where they had all gone, and she initially claimed not to know. However, I caught the puppy in the act, and she finally admitted covering for it. I get extremely frustrated because she lets the dog get away with everything, while I find myself having to discipline and clean up after it, on top of working full-time and doing most of the household chores. Whenever I express my frustration, she tells me it's all in my head and that I shouldn't let it bother me because I'm allowing myself to get angry. I don't know what to do. I feel extremely disrespected. She made a decision without my consent and now makes me feel guilty for being frustrated and resentful, despite warning her about this scenario. Should I leave? She refuses to give up the dog and claims that leaving would ruin our son's home life. The mere thought of leaving my baby boy sickens me. Hey, it sounds like you're in a tough spot. It's understandable that you're feeling frustrated and overwhelmed with the puppy causing chaos in the household, especially when you expressed your concerns before. It's important to have open communication with your partner and try to find a compromise that works for both of you. Leaving should be a last resort, but if the situation continues to be disrespectful and your concerns are not being addressed, it might be worth considering what's best for you and your baby boy in the long run. Am I the antagonist for wanting my brother to move out? I, an 18-year-old female, constantly argue with my older brother who is 26 years old and male over small disagreements. These arguments usually occur because he tries to dictate my actions in a parental manner. Both of us live in our father's house, and it was agreed that once we finish school, we either pay rent or find another place to live. Since I haven't finished school yet and plan to attend college, I am still living at home. On the other hand, my brother finished school a while ago and is currently unemployed. He has his own family, and our father offered him and his 24-year-old girlfriend a place to stay until they stabilize their financial situation. This is understandable since my brother became a father at the age of 21. The problem is that my brother has been financially stable for a long time. He had a well-paying job and recently revealed that he has enough money to start a business. This makes me question why he has the financial means to do that but does not have the money to afford a mortgage. It is not surprising that he has savings since he and his girlfriend do not pay rent to my father. They reside in the basement, which does not have sufficient rooms for all of them. One of the bedrooms was converted into a gaming room. My brother's bedroom became their kids' room, and they are using the guest bedroom for my brother's girlfriend's sister, who also does not contribute to the rent. Furthermore, they transformed the living room into their own bedroom. Their lack of space and disregard for cleanliness contribute to the issue. They create messes in the kitchen and expect me to clean up after them. If I leave a few plates in the sink, my brother yells at me to clean them up, but this also means cleaning their dishes. As a result, I have refused to clean up after them on several occasions. My father works on a week-on, week-off basis, and the house usually gets a thorough cleaning before he returns home. However, they expect me to clean the entire upstairs area, even though I primarily stay confined to my room. I have my meals in my room and clean up my messes in the kitchen. You could say I feel like Cinderella because all I seem to do is clean up after everyone else. Let me clarify that I love my brother and his family, but I find the situation unfair. I cannot have access to the kitchen between 5-7 p.m. every night, and if I want to clean my dishes, I have to put away theirs to make room. Additionally, I have to be quiet in the evenings because their room lacks walls, and they can hear my every move. I have had discussions with my father about my brother moving out, and unfortunately, my brother overheard one of these conversations. He later accused me of stabbing him in the back because I agreed with my dad about kicking them out. It places me in a difficult situation because, while I feel guilty agreeing with my dad, I also believe my brother is responsible enough to find his own place. Moreover, he claims to have enough money to start a business, which leads me to believe he won't be left homeless. With 3 adults, I am certain they could pool their resources and purchase a home. In all honesty, I wouldn't have a problem with them if my brother didn't constantly try to control me and belittle me. However, his behavior is starting to affect me. Even when he is in the wrong, he and his girlfriend gang up on me in these situations. Wow, that sounds like a really frustrating situation. It's definitely unfair for your brother and his family to take up so much space in the house and not contribute financially. And the fact that he constantly tries to parent you and belittle you is not cool at all. It's understandable that you agreed with your dad about them moving out, especially since your brother claims to have enough money to start a business. Hopefully, things get better for you soon. Am I the antagonist for firing my sister-in-law for speaking to me with an attitude multiple times and her avoiding me? My sister-in-law works for me as a freelancer, meaning she is not officially an employee but collaborates with me in my work. Over the past 10 months that we have been working together, I have been repeatedly asking her to provide invoices. Each month, I requested them, but she never sent them. Despite this, I still paid her because she needed the money and promised to send the invoices. I even provided her with a template to assist her, as creating invoices was new for her. Eventually, I really needed the invoices for tax purposes, so I asked for them for the 9th time in the span of 10 months. In response, she became upset and displayed a passive-aggressive attitude. I inquired about the problem and why she seemed annoyed with me. She expressed her frustration, saying that I stressed her out by asking for the invoices and that it upset her that she had to spend her evening working on them. She proceeded to blame me. I responded by saying it's not my fault she left them until the last minute, as I had asked politely and tried to help. It's important to note that I provided her with a job and shared my knowledge from 12 years of experience in this field. I supported her throughout her learning process, and yet she continued to display a negative attitude towards me. Following this incident, she ignored me for 4 days. During that time, I decided that I no longer wanted to work with her, considering this was not the first time she had shown such behavior. Additionally, she generally seems ungrateful. When she finally messaged me, there was no apology, and she continued to complain about feeling stressed because I requested something she should have done months ago. I sent her a polite message explaining that I believe our working relationship is not functioning at the moment. I stated that I don't think she takes responsibility for her own duties, and instead blames me while speaking to me disrespectfully, even when I have done nothing wrong and have always been helpful. I suggested that we could potentially work together again in the future if we can come to an understanding, but for now, it's best to take a break from working together. Now my brother is very upset with me because she will lose out on money. He believes I overreacted to her having an attitude and thinks that, although she is at fault, I shouldn't have fired her. Just to clarify, she also has a regular job in addition to working for me. However, my brother mentioned that she relied on the money I paid her. Am I the one in the wrong here? It's understandable that you would be frustrated with your sister-in-law's consistent failure to send invoices despite multiple requests over a 10-month period. Her passive-aggressive responses and lack of accountability also contribute to the strained working relationship. It's important to prioritize professionalism, and if this arrangement isn't working for you, it's reasonable to make the decision to part ways. I think my girlfriend is cheating on me, but I have no proof. My girlfriend and I have been dating for a few months now, but I feel like she is cheating on me. I can't tell if it's anxiety taking over from previous bad relationships, or if I am actually right. The thought of her cheating never crossed my mind until I learned more about her past. According to her, I am the only guy she has ever been romantically involved with. For context, she has only dated women in the past. However, I recently discovered that there was someone else in her life just so she could bring someone home to her strict parents. She introduced him to her friends, they watched movies together, but she insists it wasn't a real relationship. She also has a close male friend that she can't seem to let go of. He recently distanced himself from her due to personal struggles, claiming he was leaving the state, but he ended up just moving houses. They used to text frequently, but now they only communicate through Snapchat when she's at work or away from me. I haven't seen her open a Snapchat from him when I'm around. There have been some small things I have noticed along the way. She often gets random bruises in the shape of fingerprints on her legs and arms. These bruises are not in the spots where I normally touch her during intimate moments. I understand if this sounds unreasonable. I once saw a fake phone number app in her suggested apps on the App Store. I didn't think much of it until I looked it up and saw that it had been recently installed on her phone. When asked about it, she just said, "I have no idea when or why I used it. Our usual routine is that she brings food home after work because she gets it for free at the restaurant she works at. However, recently, she has stopped doing this and always says she ate at work or isn't hungry. When she leaves for work, she used to have a strict uniform policy at her job because it's a nice establishment. But lately, she has been going to work wearing only a hoodie and black pants that don't match her uniform. This seemed fine until I remembered how she used to rush to wash her work clothes to ensure she was always in uniform. There have been many other things that have gradually made me worry over time, but I don't want to be wrong because I genuinely care for her. It makes me feel awful that my trust is wavering. I have discussed everything with her and her reaction was, fine I guess. She just curled up under her blanket, covered her mouth, and when I expressed my thoughts, she never made eye contact with me. So I got up and said, "I'm sorry if I've upset you," and she started crying. It makes me wonder if guilt has consumed her. Hey man, it's tough when you start doubting your partner's fidelity. It sounds like you have some legitimate concerns, especially with her past and the changes in her behavior. It's important to trust your gut instincts, but at the same time, try not to jump to conclusions without concrete evidence. Keep the lines of communication open and see if you can have an honest conversation with her about your concerns. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.